Hello and welcome to Faultlines. I'm your host Shahzad. In a very important visit to Balochistan, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, accompanied by senior cabinet members and Field Marshal Syed Asim Munir, he announced a 250 billion rupees package for Balochistan. It was a master stroke. We knew that our enemy, they exploited socio-economic conditions in Balochistan, and the youth of Balochistan, especially because of the backwardness and unemployment, they were vulnerable in the hands of those fitna al-Khawarij and the people who are basically waging war against Pakistan, fanning separatism in that very particular province. However, in the past, so many packages for Balochistan were announced, but they failed to yield the desired result. So how this package is going to make a difference, this is what we are going to discuss in this program. But on the other hand, President Donald Trump once again stated that it was he who averted a nuclear disaster between Pakistan and India, and he used trade and forced India and Pakistan to come to the dialogue table and resolve their disputed issues through meaningful dialogue. India kept silence. Narendra Modi did not speak a single word on the statements issued time and again by President Donald Trump. However, Pakistan welcomed American intervention, and as Pakistan always supported and promoted the dialogue process, and in fact we offer time and again India to come to the dialogue table and resolve all the disputed issues. However, there were so many lies being the Indian media was speaking, Indian cabinet members, all these cronies of Narendra Modi, that they have won the war against Pakistan. But the recent admission by Indian Chief of his Defense Staff in an interview with Bloomberg, he admitted the downing of so many aircrafts, the state-of-the-art aircraft by Pakistani Air Force and Pakistan Defense Forces, and that was the very first time a high-ranking Indian official is admitting that they lost several of their state-of-the-art aircraft while they were waging war against Pakistan. Before we start the program, I introduce the guest. Let's hear what Indian CDS to say.
Well, there's still one unanswered question since the incident between Pakistan and India, and that is whether or not Pakistan downed an Indian jet, or in fact more than that. Can you confirm?
I think what is important is that not the jet being down, but why they were being down.
But a jet, at least one jet was downed?
Yeah. Why they were. So the good part is that we are able to understand the tactical mistake which we made, remedy it, rectify it, and then implement it again after 2 days, and flew all our jets, again targeting at long range, which I said.
Pakistan claims 6 Indian jets were downed. Is it correct in that estimate?
Absolutely incorrect, and that is not information which I said is important. What is important is why they were down. That is more important for us. And what did we do after that? That's more important.
General?
That was General Anil Chauhan, Chief of Defense Staff of Indian Armed Forces, and he, need I say more, that it was a clear admission by such a high-ranking Indian Army official, the destruction of their state-of-the-art aircraft in an interview with the Bloomberg. So let me introduce the guest. We are being joined in the studio by Zafar, Senior Analyst. Thank you so much, Zafar Saab. AVM Ijaz Malik is also with us in the studio. Thank you so much, sir, for your time as well. In a short while, Dr. Salma Malik and General Zahid Mehmood would also be with us. Zafar Saab, to you, what does this admission by Indian Chief of Defense Staff signify at this stage?
Thank you very much, Shahzad. First of all, what it points out is that India had been ambivalent about the losses from 6th, 7th, May 9, May 6th, 7th, midnight. They had been sort of keeping it under wraps, not discussing the losses and not admitting clearly that what were the losses. Now this admission means that they are now slowly accepting that these were the losses that occurred that night. They are still trying to sort of spin a story around it, that what matters is that why did they got shot down,
Or what mistakes we committed.
Mistakes were committed and all that. So this is a story they are trying to sell to their audience, and they are good storytellers, as we know. They have Bollywood at their back, so they are good storytellers. So they are telling that story. I was watching the social media feed, and their target audience has started to buy that story as well. But it is significant for us in the sense that it validates whatever facts we had presented immediately. The good thing about Pakistan's communication during this 4-day period was that we tried to stay as close to truth as possible and as close to facts as possible. We were open in our communication with the media, with the world overall, and we were even admitting our losses. When our bases were hit, we did not say that these were not hit. We said that yes, these were hit. But obviously we were very confident that we have had a good punch back, and that was enough as a response to the situation.
One question, and it's very interesting that none of the cabinet members of Narendra Modi had the courage to come or face the media and make these admissions. They basically presented a high-ranking army official to come to to go public and make those admissions. I mean, it is
because it's very simple. From the day one, all this is about politics. This is not about grand strategic thinking. It is not about anything to do with the regional dynamics. It was all about politics. So they do not want their politics to be impacted by such admissions.
Right.
That is why they are releasing the information very slowly, very deliberately admitting losses. In a few days, I think they'll also start admitting the human losses they suffered. Now this is the first time they have admitted the loss of aircraft. So because it's political.
Right, it's political.
That should be very obvious.
So we should not be very optimistic that the war mongering going on in India and being promoted by Narendra Modi and all his cronies would stop anytime soon.
No, we shouldn't be very optimistic. We should be very practical, and the practical the ground reality is that it's just a ceasefire. It's not end of the war. War has changed its dimension. We have been in war, no peace, no war situation with India for decades. And now if you see the surge in Balochistan, what does that signify? That while we have a ceasefire in the kinetic domain, we are continuing being affected by the state-sponsored terrorism, cross-border terrorism in sub-conventional domain. What happened in APS, what happened in Sorab yesterday. So that is an easy solution for India to keep Pakistan bleeding and to keep nurturing our fragile fault lines, and that's what they want. So it would be very naive on our part to think that India would just sit back and write chronicle of this war, and that's end of it, and then we are off for another 20-30 years.
Last week, DG ISPR told the entire world that India has intensified all its efforts and activated its assets to intensify the acts of terror in Pakistan, especially in Balochistan. But do you think that the steps we are taking, especially the visit of the Prime Minister and the Field Marshal and the senior members, announcement of the package, and asking the people who are at the helm of affairs that the zero tolerance should be given to all those miscreants?
I think it's a very it's a wonderful initiative to start with, but if we see the problem, the history of the problem and the way we have been handling, I think we need to apply a course correction on that. What I mean to say that in the past also, at least twice, a lot of funding has been done by Federation in Balochistan. One in President Musharraf era, and the second was
during People's Party,
during President Zardari's first regime. So but the effects you don't see anywhere.
Exactly. We will discuss in detail in the second part of the show the effects and why those packages did not, yield the desired results. Anik Zafar sahab, do you think that Narendra Modi would now react with some more foolishness to salvage, if at all, any respect he is left with?
Well, he is a man who is now desperate. Obviously, he had built a narrative in which India was a global power and he was like a larger than life figure on the world politics stage, and he wanted to rub shoulders with the top global powers and show as if India and Modi are equivalent to all the global powers. They have had a harsh reality check. Now there are two options for Mr. Modi. One is to sit down, reevaluate and understand that becoming a global power requires entirely a different mindset. Becoming a global power does not mean that you throw your weight around and try to be the regional bully, and then the world starts recognizing you as a global power. And he should understand that in the regional context also, Pakistan punches above its weight and has always punched above its weight. And obviously China is a factor, huge factor in the region. Then India is right now is not having a very cordial sort of relationship with other countries in the region. So until unless India does not understand that without resolving its issues in the region, it cannot go on the global stage and become a global powerhouse. What the other option for him is obviously fraught with dangers, and that is that he tries to again escalate situation, go for some other kinetic option. But I am very hopeful that Indian strategic thinkers, particularly the people in the defense forces, will this time weigh upon him and will not go for that kind of option.
All right. General Zahid Mehmood is also with us. Thank you very much, General Saab, for your time. And allow me the same question which I just asked to Mr. Anik Zafar. How would Narendra Modi now react to salvage, if at all, any respect he is left with? Because they lost the kinetic war against Pakistan, they lost their diplomatic offensive against Pakistan, and now they are trying to, find a solution to get out of this quagmire or the problem they created for themselves.
Thank you very much, Shahzad. Yes, of course, it is very challenging for him. But with his personality, his character, this insane mind, he's a narcissist. So his priority one is not the, his repute or something. The repute of India. His priority is the reputation of the RSS and his mindset. So his audience are not the international audience. He's least bothered that what role India was playing as the watchdog in this region or anything else. His main purpose is to satisfy the domestic audience. So he has created an environment. He was already in a, he was not already in a position to wage this war. So he got himself entangled. He created a situation like Catch-22 kind of a situation for himself. So he got into this. So his priority one is to win the elections and domestic politics and domestic audience. He is not bothered about the stakes involved. International repute stakes are also involved, like the French company who were making these aircrafts. So their repute is at the stake. It's more than a 50 billion euro project, the Rafale project. So that is at the stake. So top people and other countries, they will keep coming on him to identify, to know that what were the mistakes. And of course, the French are not going to say that there is something wrong in the machine. They're going to say about the training or training of the Indian pilots, professionalism of their militaries, which was embarrassed in the initial 40 minutes of the battle. And I was hearing from that interview to the Bloomberg, that CDS General Chauhan interview. He was talking about the tactical impact. What was the tactical reason? He should understand. I'm sure Ijaz is sitting with you. Fighter aircraft is not a tactical weapon. It's an operational weapon. Even one aircraft has the operational impact. So it is little higher in the military strategy and at the military pedestal. So this is kind of an operational and strategic loss. The center of gravity of their air force was knocked down by Pakistan Air Force and Pakistan military in the initial stages of the battle. So they were out of the battle. And that was the big loss. That's why they're talking about now the next attack will be led by the naval forces. So coming back to your question, Mr. Modi, I mean, is the most challenging person on God's earth today. He's the enemy of 2 billion people of this region. So anything is expected out of him, I think.
All right. General Saab, do stay with us. Dr. Salma Malik has also joined us. Thank you very much, Dr. Saiba. Question is, after successful kinetic operation against India and successful diplomatic offensive, I will call it offensive, how would you suggest that what next the government of Pakistan, the people of Pakistan can do to, capitalize on the successes we just achieved against the arch rival?
Okay, thank you very much for having me in the program. Few very important things that we need to take is, although we are a very humble people when it comes to these things, and when Allah endows or blesses someone with victory, one should celebrate it, but we also need to realize that we have just won the battle. The war still continues, and for India, it's an endless war because Modi and his minions, especially the five Hindutva leadership in the high command, they are quite upset with the type of defeat. It's not only a simple defeat, it's a blowing defeat. It's a defeat that they simply cannot digest. That has happened to them, and they're trying to make everything possible to paint it another way to sell it to the domestic audience. But obviously, the Indian domestic audience as well as external audience is not oblivious of what the reality is. What Pakistan needs to actually now understand is that India will do anything and everything in its capacity to damage us.
Narendra Modi
And for
already.
that, we really have to. Sorry?
Narendra Modi has already paid a very heavy price of the foolishness or the mistakes
Yes, he
and
has.
his cabinet members committed. Do you think that he would go for another misadventure against Pakistan for just some petty political gains? Because now the BJP leadership is questioning his the premiership and his leadership as well.
Gee, may I? The thing is that obviously he will not go for another kinetic action, but war is not only kinetic. There's a lot more to war, especially in the modern times when we talk about the fifth, sixth generation warfare. It's a lot more than just the mere kinetic thing. You see, even this time, if we see there was a flare up at LOC, which, mashallah, our army responded very well, and the Indians had to put in a ceasefire flag at the very first hour, despite being the initiators. But war and the dynamics of war are changing in a higher category. And there's so many things that go with that. So we are not discussing it. What I'm basically saying is that Modi is going to use tactics which are very cowardly. Terrorism. He is going to make it show that he hurts us through our economy. He will try and create barriers for us when it comes to trade, diplomatic offensive, various things, disinfo lab that he already has with him. So these things are there, and Pakistan has to be not only wary, but in fact, as mashallah, we have performed very well in the past and now even, we have to put up our diplomatic efforts a lot more. We have to strengthen them. We have to go to each and every capital of the world, even if that country has a very small share or has hardly any stakes in South Asia. We need to go and talk to them and tell them our version of the story. We also need to see that in this particular war, where mashallah China is standing right next to us, and it is proving once again that it is one of our deepest and strongest and the oldest friends. There's going to be a premium both for Pakistan and China, and we're already seeing that India is doing that to Turkey and various other countries. They have even asked, and Modi is such an idiot. that he used derogatory language without realizing that he's the prime minister of one of the biggest countries of the world.
Of course,
And
and they
he's
felt
using,
embarrassment, and look,
yes,
of when the Colombian government issued a statement and sympathized with the people of Pakistan who lost their lives, and with the
yes,
families, and the Indian Foreign Office, the kind of statement they issued, and even Mr. Shashi Tharoor, he claimed that
yes,
they forced Colombians to withdraw the statement, which was not withdrawn even as we speak now. Anik Zafar
absolutely.
Sahab, as Dr. Saib was saying. The war between India and Pakistan is not just throwing missile at each other or firing the bullets, but it's much more complex than that. And Narendra Modi can stoop to any level. So the visit of the Prime Minister to satisfy or to address the concern of the people of Balochistan, what do you think that how things would unfold now? Because in the past several packages were announced, as AVM alluded to. So now how would it be different this time compared to the past packages and the steps we have taken?
I think what we need to ensure is that this package and its benefits reach down to the level of people who really deserve that. The problem in the past had been that a lot of that money was spent on projects which did not really benefit the communities. We need to engage the communities, and one more important thing is to design a political action. And by political action I mean is that all the political forces who are national level forces, parties who are national level parties, and many political parties are in Balochistan. Some of them have somewhat of a nationalist flavor, but are willing to work with the federation. We need to empower those people. We need to empower that leadership. We need to bring them on board and use their credibility with those people who are still not who have still not shifted towards militancy, because those people who have shifted towards militancy or have firmly gone into the ambit of conspiring with the foreign power or something, you have to have a different approach to them. But there are many people who are dissatisfied, there are many people who have been misled, so we have to start reaching out to them. There should be an extensive outreach program through which you bring them back, you integrate them back into national life, make them realize that their long-term interest lies within the framework of Federation of Pakistan. So these actions have to be simultaneous, along with the economic package, along with the security action. You need to have political action.
So would you like to finish your thought? You were
Yes, exactly. As we just discussed, these things have been done in the past. First of all, we have to take an account of what exactly is the situation on ground. You see, there is no denial, and everybody knows that whether it is KP or Balochistan, both sides, Indian sponsored terrorism is the thing. But the dynamics are different. While in KP, it has a shade of kind of a so-called ideology, and starting from their attire or what they profess, that's more of a something to do with ideology, and their demands are like that. Whereas in Balochistan, India, while doing the same damage to Pakistan, but India has created a narrative of insurgency. You see, the same youngsters, they will be having a beard and giving that impact of being a Taliban kind of look in KP side, but in Balochistan they will be wearing a camouflage or a fatigue suit, and they will be, and this narrative can be taken up internationally, and this whole issue can be constructed in that fashion. So
but how would you differentiate between a member of a Fitna al-Khawarij, and the people who call themselves separatists? Are they the chips of the same block?
They are definitely, because their ultimate objective is to destabilize Pakistan and let the development which we intend doing in that area, the CPEC passing through Balochistan, those are the targets. And in that effort, as far as the China containment or CPEC not being allowed to develop, there are so many countries who are supporting or in sync with India. Some of the people have the commercial interest. I mean, they could be apparently our friends, but it doesn't suit them. So we have to isolate the real hardcore people who have that kind of grievances, and they are very few in number. Let me be very candid on that. There are mostly the people who are misled. We have to, like dynamics of firefighting, that you isolate the fire and the fuel. You create a barrier, you create fire lanes.
Right.
So we have to separate those people, deal both of them differently.
Exactly.
Whereas on one side we may need a kinetic application, but for most part of the problem, we just need a healing touch. And they can be brought back into mainstream of the constitutional framework.
Of course. General Sahab, are you still with us?
Yes, Shahzad, I am.
General Sahab, what do you think, what strategy we are going to employ under the leadership of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir?
Look, this is whether it is a kinetic application or a political or a socio-economic, this whole activity is primarily is a political activity. War is part of the politics, so it is extension of politics. So of course, as we all are talking about the spectrum of this threat, it's kind of a hybrid proxy state-sponsored terrorism mix, and kinetic is one part, as Dr. Malik was saying. So there needs to be a larger political consensus in the country. The whole of a nation approach has to be adopted, because every citizen of Pakistan, being the center of gravity of this war, is the target. So every individual, maybe a politician, maybe a scientist, maybe a doctor, maybe a student, or a small worker in a workshop. So everyone has to contribute. You understand that. And probably the military application is only 42, maximum it is 30 to 40% of the application. That is the part of the strategy. It cannot be more than that. Of course, military is going to take action against these kinetic actions with precision. And they have the capacity and capability. So primarily, we need to have a superior political maneuver and diplomatic maneuver. Now, as far as this present threat which is going on, you are already talking about Fitna al-Khawarij. I think we should stop calling them Khawarij. Why? Because this charade ideology which they were trying to profess and on which they were waging this war against Pakistan, basing on Sharia and all, it has not gained any traction. The people of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, they're very intelligent people, especially people in the FATA area. So they have understood that this war which they were waging on the basis of this charade ideology of Shariat and all that, this is all bullshit. Now what they will do is that they will try to convert themselves and would be fighting as a lingo nationalist Pakhtun militants, and they'll start talking about the deprivations of the Pakhtuns and what all is happening against the Pakhtun. They will take full advantage of this political polarization, especially in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, which is already there. They will try to create a wedge between the armed forces and the people, basing on the, taking advantage of the already polarized political environment. So I think Prime Minister has to get into these things also. I think we should have a larger political consensus. I'm not saying that you stop the legal things which are which are taking place against, or anyone who has violated the constitution, or the legal actions are required to be taken against him. These things should continue, but we should have a larger political consensus, and we need to settle the Western Front first. And as far as Balochistan is concerned, it has to be a whole of a nation approach, addressing all these socio-economic issues and jirga systems and the
This package announced by the Prime Minister of rupees 250 billion, it's not a small package. If spent with competence and honesty, so it would make a difference, we believe.
issue with us is, let me confess, and I'm sorry that I have to say this on the national media, we make a lot of good plans, we make very good packages, but real issue is the implementation of these things with the spirit. We have had a National Action Plan 2014. You see what we have done with that. We couldn't implement it properly. The military, they carry out their operations, they clear the area, they hold the area, but as far as you know, then the socio-economic work which has to come, the build part of the strategy, that is not implemented. The biggest problem in Balochistan is the governance issues. Let me confess that the biggest reason behind what all is happening, the major cause is the poor governance. We need to improve on that. We need to create checks and balances, transparency. So the people of Balochistan should have, every citizen, every Balochi should have confidence in whatever has been announced that is being implemented in true literal and spirit. That confidence we have to get. We need to understand that insurgency and situation like this, the center of gravity are the people of Balochistan. Now these terrorists will try to get their support by showing them that this government is not sincere to them. It should be endeavor of the government as well to get the support of these people, and that will only come through the transparency and the true.
Point well taken. Point well taken. Let me get back to you, Dr. Salma Malik. Now, Pakistan and Afghan regime, they decided to be represented in each other's capital with a full-time ambassador. And Afghanistan is part of the problem, whatever is happening in Balochistan in particular and Pakistan in general. So, I mean, do you think that these steps would lead to some sort of better understanding between Kabul and Islamabad to deal with people like Fitna al-Khawarij? Because in the past or lately, we were not having that kind of or desired support from Taliban regime.
Well, it entirely depends on how this situation pans out. It can be in our favor, it can go against us as well. But we do have to keep in mind that there are certain developments that have taken place after the Pak-Afghan-China trilateral dialogue. And as a result of that, we have also seen that Kabul has also undertaken certain actions to deter and to discourage the non-state actors and such elements which are operating from its soil. So I guess the name of the game that China has told to both Pakistan and Afghanistan is trade, better trade, uninterrupted trade, secure trade. And unless and until that happens, neither can Afghanistan.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have to take a very short break. We'll continue our discussion after this. Welcome back to the show. You just heard the news that all these terrorist organizations operating in Balochistan would now be referred as Fitna ul Hindustan. Dr. Salma Malik, would you like to finish your thoughts, and would you also include this latest development? So now it's a thing that's a war of narrative we were just discussing, and Pakistan is now taking an aggressive move against India, which we as we always been facing. All those sort of lies, and because of their economic power and their clout. So we were always at the recipient end. So now you think that things are going to be changed this time?
I think it's high time that these things had to be changed. The Pakistani public, for the longest, had been pressing the Pakistani government and the security apparatus that all these terrorist activities, which have a very pronounced Indian signature to it, catching various spies and minions, of which Kulbhushan Yadav is one of the very prominent factor, and there have been several others. We have received weapon which have been used against Pakistan, coming through Afghanistan into Pakistan, being used by terrorist outfits and all. And despite knowing that it is India absolutely behind all this, they have been financing us, they have been using our people, they have been using our neighbors against us. We were always very decent and muted in naming India blatantly. They have carried out strikes inside Pakistan, the Jafar Express incident being one of the latest ones. They are bold enough to conduct false flag operations in their own soil, killing their own people. So I think this is the most appropriate thing to do. This should have happened far before.
Point well taken, Dr. Saiba. Point well taken. Anik Zafar Saab, there are so many insurgencies going on in India, but none of their leaders leading the insurgency was ever found in Pakistan. Pakistan never ever hosted any of the separatist leaders, which are in fact Indians, and they are conducting their own operations over there. But people like Bramdah Bukti, people like Harbayar Mari, I mean, when there is solid evidence available, footage available, videos available where they were in India talking with the Indian senior leadership and all conducting all sorts of activities in Balochistan. So what more the world needs to know?
Well, I think we need to present our case to the world more aggressively, and I hope during the current visit of the Prime Minister and the Field Marshal Sayyid Asamuli to 4 countries, they would have taken up with these countries, particularly Iran has a significant stake in this situation. And we know that Iranian soil has been used in the past by these Baloch nationalist leaders. Iran and Afghanistan are the 2 sort of launching stations from where Baloch insurgents can receive Indian aid or Indian support, sorry, not aid. So I think we have had a productive discussion with Iran when the Prime Minister and Chief of Army Staff were there. And then we had productive discussion with Foreign Minister Mr. Da's counterpart in China, along with China making it clear to the Afghans that for a long-term future and stability of this this region, it is important that they try to curb all those non-state militant actors who destabilize Pakistan. So it will impact on TTP and also on these Fitnatul Kharij and Fitnatul Hindustan.
Fitnatul Hindustan.
It will have an impact on both. And we hope that Iran and Afghanistan will understand that the economic integration of this region will only come about if there is absolutely no non-state actor impacting regional security.
Last 2 minutes, AVM Saab. So this rebranding them as Fitnatul Hindustan, I mean,
I think it's very significant. You see, in very recent past, till very recent past, I would say, we have been saying, sponsored by our eastern neighbor or one of the neighbors. So that was, creating some kind of semblance, as if we are not very sure, so we are not naming the enemy. Now that we have actually branded them, so that shows, I read it like this, that it shows the clarity of our leadership, that here we are telling the world that who is responsible of what is going on in Balochistan.
So it's not only the clarity but irrefutable evidence we always have against them.
Already we always had evidence. Kulbhushan Yadav's presence in Pakistan, it's a trophy coming out of that situation. And we have so many other dossiers also presented, but somehow we were not very firm, I would say. Now we have to dovetail this thing with our exterior maneuver, where we are sending our delegations abroad on diplomatic front. This should be part of their agenda, that they not only talk to the government officials over there, but we must go and talk to the think tanks, the opinion makers, and try to plead our case with.
And timely decision is basically arming your diplomatic missions with the required munition.
Exactly. And the byproduct of this branding would be that now some people, who were double-minded, whether they should side with BLA or not, now they will think twice, because once it comes to India, not everybody wants to jump on the same bandwagon.
Some jump on the same bandwagon. Thank you so much, Anik Zafar Saab, AVM Ijaz Malik Saab, General Zahid Mehmood Saab, Dr. Salma Malik Saiba, for your time, and very much viewers for watching the program. Good night and Khuda Hafiz.